are live. I just barely got my little self around here before that got started. So, hey everybody, I'm so glad you can join me today. So, I'm making some raspberry jam, and I thought, well, why not I just invite the community to come along with me? So, one of the things that I will have to do is kind of move the camera around from place to place. I'll try not to make you seasick by moving it too much, but what it is what it is, because I'm having to do it vertical with my phone. So let me just go ahead and get started. So I am making raspberry jam, and the first person to jump in is Gil Decker. And hello, Gil, what's your favorite animal? Right now it's a cat, because I've got a cat that's living on my porch. But I don't feed my cat raspberry jam. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. So Gil, hope you like raspberry jam, because that's what I'm making today. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my canner set up. And right now, I am using the Ball Easy Canner. And it's really pretty easy to use, and it is perfect for novices. So what I'm going to, and I've already washed up my jars and my equipment, and I got them in the sink. So what I'll do is what I like to do is kind of like to do the same thing all the time. First of all, I'll take my rack and I'll set it down inside my canner. And I don't often show myself doing that. And then later people will ask a question and I've already completed that piece. So what I like to do is lay out a towel. So I'm going to just try to turn you just a little bit over here. And I'm going to add a little bit of vinegar to the pot of water once I get the jars, because I've got hard water. And then this is the vinegar that I'm going to use to wipe down my jars and the rims. So I've got that ready already. I tried to get out as much ready as I could so that I wasn't running all over the kitchen. Bashua, hello. I am so glad you're here with me today. And for those of you that follow me all the time, you might have noticed I haven't been posting quite as much as usual. I've been a little under the weather. So if you see me limping around a little bit, you'll know why. I'm doing fine. So I've got my jars already washed up right here. And, before I set those out, I got my equipment already washed and rinsed, and I like to have it setting right there. And I kind of wanted you to see the process. So for those people that are new, I wanted them to see as much as I could show from beginning to end. So here's my equipment, and let's make sure I got all the pieces up here. So what is it that I have? Well, I have my funnel scoops. I've got it sitting right there. Then I've got my my canning scoop. And then I've got my funnel, which sits on top of the jars, that right there. And then I've got my jar lifter, and I will usually set my lid lifter right inside of that. Then I also get the jars out of the canner when they're hot with that, when I'm getting ready to fill them. And then my debubbler sits right there. And then I also like to put my jar rings right down the side like this. And I pretty much set it up the same way every time. That way I don't forget anything. Now, the one thing I did forget to bring over here, because I was wanting not to have to leave the screen, was my little pot that I'm going to put my lids in. And in so many canning books, it tells you to let your lids rest in warm water while you're doing your thing. So I'll just set them over here in a little bowl on this plate. And when I go over to that part of the kitchen, I'll get them out. I'll get the little pot out. So now I'm going to just sit these right here, and they're right where I can get at them. So they're ready to go. And then I've got my jars down here, and they're mostly partially filled with water, so that when I fill my canner, which I'll now sit right here, I'll get it, no, this is my little spigot, and I'll get that spigot turned around so that it is over the sink. That way, once the canner is undone and I want to empty the canner, I can just open the spigot and let the water run in the sink and not have to lift a whole big heavy pot of hot water in there. So I will plug this in. And if you just joined me, I already have my canning rack in the bottom of the pot. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of vinegar in the bottom of the pot as well, and then fill it with water. And it takes a little bit to fill it up with water. So I've got my jars already filled so that as I fill this canner with water, because the jars have to be full too, that'll just help. And I thought it would just save a little time that you have to watch me doing a little bit of nothing. So now I'm going to go through the whole canning process. I'm going to go, as you see, I'm putting my jars in. And the recipe that I'm making calls for, says it'll make about 8 half pints, or which a half pint is this size. This is the usual jelly jar size. But sometimes I get a little more, sometimes I get a little less. So I got these little quarter pints. 2 of these in here for just in case. I always fill an extra jar or 2 for just in case. Now, one of the things that I've realized lately is that sometimes the reason why I had more product than I anticipated with the jars was because I didn't let it cook down long enough. And the longer you let things cook down, the more it kind of evaporates. So I want to make sure that I get these cooked down enough. And I want to make sure also that I've got the jars covered with at least 1 to 2 inches of water so that it is bubbling, get them sterilized. And now, here's the thing. If you're processing for 10 minutes or more, you don't have to sterilize the jars, but they do need to be clean, and they do need to be hot. So with this canner, oh wait a minute, let me just see. I got about this much water above them, so I can go ahead, turn that water off. I can put the lid on it, and I like to put the lid with the vent this way so that the steam that's coming up is coming up here and not on the cabinet. And I'm going to bring this over just a little bit more. So there's that. So there's my equipment. I've already poured this vinegar in there, because if you've got hard water, sometimes you can get like little lime buildup or that kind of thing, something along there. So those are ready to go. Now let's see who's here. Heather Fulton. Good morning, Heather. I'm so glad you're here. And I hope you enjoy this session of jam making. I'm going to make some I'm not sure what happened. They're going to make some raspberry jam. And then Jean W. is here. And I already mentioned Heather and Bashua. Donna, Mark 1 said this is going to be interesting. And Girl Dad, hey Girl Dad, good to have you with me. And yes, please hit the like button. So now, I got this on. Oh, it would help if I turn the canner on. So let's do that. So I'm going to turn the canner on, and I'm going to set it all the way over to auto canning. So it'll come up to preheating and preheat the jars. And it takes about 30 minutes, I'm thinking, for the water to heat up enough that it then gets hot enough to preheat the jar. So I've got it on set to that. And so I get all this stuff ready, and then I'll start cooking my jam. And I'm going to put this back here. And I'm going to start cooking my jam. So now I'm going to need to move the phone. And you might feel like you're getting a little seasick. Why did that go off again? Here, I don't know what happened here. Let me just, oh, I know. I set it to preheating jars. Got to hit next. So now it's preheating the jar. So now that's doing what it's supposed to do. So now let's go over here to the sink, and rather to the stove. So I've got my raspberries here already. I got those crushed and measured out already. And I've got about 6 cups of raspberries, and then I've got my sugar in the oven. I was reading a recipe earlier, and it was saying that warm sugar melts better, and so you should warm your sugar. And I thought, well, what the heck? I'll give it a try. I mean, it certainly can't take it any longer to heat up. So I've got my raspberries here. And I'm going to, oh, and I'm going to show you my new cookbook in a minute, but let me grab something real quick. Hang on. I'm always forgetting something, and I thought I had everything, and I guess I didn't. But this is the cookbook that I'm using today. It is my small batch preserving, and it tells you exactly what to do step by step. So I wanted to have it over here with you to show it to me. And this is the one that mentioned putting the sugar in the oven for about 15 minutes in a shallow pan. You just turn it on for about 250. Let sugar warm up. So I'm going to go ahead and put the berries in the saucepan. So I'm using this little stainless steel saucepan that I've had forever. And now let's see if you can see what I'm doing. There we go. All right. So I'm going to pour the berries into this saucepan. And let's try to get them all in here without making too much of a mess. Because for those of you that follow me know, I can make a mess. And I've got on one of my denim aprons today. I like these when I'm making something that's dark or something that I think could really be messy. And I've got a sink of hot soapy water behind me. So I can just go ahead and sit that in the water so that I don't have a lot to clean up afterward. And to be honest, I already cleaned up some stuff. And then I'm going to get this little pan here and I'm going to put some warm water in it. So let me just turn you around so you can see what I'm doing. Because I've already been off screen once, so I don't need to do it again. So I just put a little water in here. And what I'm going to do is just set the pot right here. And I spilled water all over the sink. All over the stove. I told you guys, if anybody can make a mess, it'll be me. But I'm just going to, let's turn you around just a little bit. Just going to turn this one on just to warm. It's going to be on low. Because I'm not trying to boil the lids. They just need to be warm. And if you're using ball lids, you really don't have to do that. Ball says you don't need to do that at all. But people don't always use ball. So I thought I would show that process. And it's just warm, not hot. So once it gets a little bit warm, once it warms up, I'll just drop my lids in like this. I'll just drop, oh, you can't see that. Oh, and I see I got my cabinet open in the back. I went in there to get something and didn't close it up. Okay, so I'm just dropping them in like that. Oh, and it's warmed up already, so I'm just going to leave it there on low. And then now my pot is here, and I'm going to set it on high. And we'll get those, we'll bring those strawberries to a boil, and I've already got something. Like I said, if anybody can make a mess, it'll be me. So now let me let you sit here and see what you can see. So, just gonna give this a stir now. We're gonna be at this for a minute because I gotta warm this up. And I've already crushed my my raspberries. So they're already nice and crushed. And here, I can even let you see a little better. See that? They're already nice and crushed. And I used the potato masher to do that, and I'll show you that in a little bit once I once we get these in a jar, I can get that out. But when you're making jam, it's usually a 1-to-1 ratio. 1 cup of jam to 1 cup of sugar. So I've got about 6 cups of jam in here. I'm going to have about 6 cups of sugar. So I got to let this come to a boil first. And since I'm doing this a little differently, I want to make sure that I am doing it this way. So yes, so once I get this to a boil, I'll get the sugar out and put that in. And let me just close this. This is just disturbing me. You know, I used to always hear my mom, she would say, close the cabinet, close the door. And I'm like, Mom, what is the difference does it make? She said, well, it bothers me. And now what I realized what she meant is that the clutter that you can see, or all the different products in there that you can see in some kind of a clutter type situation, is disturbing. It can cause a little bit of anxiety. And here I am now. I don't like to have those doors open just because, yeah, that's fine right there. Yeah. So I'm going to bring these raspberries to a boil, and my jars are preheating in my canner. And you guys saw me put those in. And actually, canning is a lot of fun. I am so glad that I learned to water bath can. And you might want to know that I do have a course that I put together called Yes You Can, a beginner's guide to water bath canning. And it's basically for beginners because it teaches you how to do water bath canning step by step. And in that particular course, I make strawberry jam to show you how to do that. And I make it in an electric water bath canner. And then I also make applesauce, but I make that in a stovetop water bath canner. You know, those old-fashioned kind that your grandma used to have. Could be one of those gray ones, or it could be a stainless steel ones that they have now. Who's here? Bathsheba says her husband is the same way. Sometimes she moves so fast in the kitchen and forgets to close the cabinet, and her husband constantly reminds her. Yes, I get it. I get it. My husband could care less if the door is open. But I just think it makes the kitchen look less cluttered when the door is shut. Now, when you're making jam, you want to have a deep pot, because one of the things that you will notice is that it will pop out. So you do want to make sure, and you stir it constantly. And once it comes to a boil, then you're going to want to add your sugar. And the sugar melts and makes it more of a liquid, so then you get much more of a volume. So I put 8 half-pint jars in the water bath canner to preheat. And I also put 2 little quarter-pint jars in there, because I always like to have 1 or 2 jars extra for just in case. And usually there's not enough for a whole jar. So the little quarter pints are nice, because then I've got a little jar that I can either just put in the fridge and use right away, or if I end up if I end up processing it, then I've got a little jar I can use as a gift for someone. So yeah. And if you see me jump, you know I popped myself. Did you strain the puree to remove the seeds or no? So, Bathsheba, you're the first person to ever ask me that. So this is what I did. I usually just put the whole fruit in there, but this time I wanted a few less seeds. So I took 2 of the clamshells of raspberries and put them through a food mill, and I'll show you the food mill later on, to remove the seeds to make it a puree. And then I just put the rest of the raspberries in there whole. So that way I still got the seeds in there, but not quite as many. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit, because this is just popping out all over the place. All right, so I think now that this is boiling, I'm going to be adding my sugar in just a minute. And I'm so happy to have some of you guys on there that do like to can. But for those of you that are new beginners, please consider signing up for my course. I do have it linked in the description box below. I'll swap out the thumbnail in a little bit, but I just decided, I was in the middle of getting things set up, and I thought, you know what, let's just bring people along. Okay, so now I'm going to get this sugar out of the oven. And I've never quite done it this way before. So it suggests putting the warm sugar in because it says the warm sugar will melt quicker, will dissolve quicker, I should say. So we'll just see how that works. I've not tried warming the sugar before. I usually just put the sugar in with the fruit, turn it on, and then just kind of let it do its thing. And this is 6 cups of sugar. I measured it out before I put it in this shallow baking pan. And I'm adding the sugar little by little. And as I mentioned earlier, with jam, as opposed to jelly, with jam, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. You're 1 cup of jam to 1 cup of sugar. And guess where I learned that? Because, you know, I really didn't know that was necessarily the ratio. But I was watching the series on Netflix, Megan, with Love Megan, and it's about Megan, the Duchess of Sussex. And she used to be Meghan Markle. Now she's Megan, the Duchess of Sussex. And, okay, that goes into my pan of soapy water on the sink. So now I've got this in there. And they're right, this sugar is dissolving pretty quickly. Now, one thing I am going to do, though, there was a little lump in there, right there. Look at there. Let's get that lump out. I'll mash that out. One thing I do want to do is wipe this up off the stove. So I've got my pan of soapy water behind me, so I could just get my dishcloth in there and get that wiped up, because what I don't want is to have that bake on my stovetop. So I'm going to wipe that up, and I've got a couple of extra dish towels out. And I'll have more that'll pop up here, but at least this way I can be getting some of this taken care of. So, all right. Now I got a pan full of this. And you can certainly see why you need a deep pan, because if you don't have a deep pan, as you saw that popping out, and see, look, you can see there's still plenty of seeds in there. But I did take 2 of the clamshells and I pureed them with the food mill so that I didn't have quite as many. And you know, I don't mind the seeds. I don't. Do you? Let me know if you mind the seeds in raspberries. If type in the chat, seeds or seedless. Let me know. I'd be interested to know. So let's see what everybody else is saying. So Mark, I hope you're enjoying this. Girl Dad, thank you for joining. Let's see, everybody's speaking to each other. Tisa, hello Tisa, I'm so glad. I am making raspberry jam. That's what I'm making. I'll be showing you a little bit more of that in a minute. Stephanie, hello Stephanie. And yes, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And Stephanie, I hope you're feeling better and able to start making some jam or jelly yourself. Don't forget, you've got access to the course for a lifetime, so go ahead and start making something. Jean says for her, she definitely needs to have the doors closed because it causes stress. Bathsheba's husband is the same. We talked about what I did in part of the seeds. And then Jean says she's a just in case. And yes, this puree is popping. And you know, I had one time when I made jam, I used a my my pressure cooker, the pan for that. And it's a lot bigger, a lot wider, and it's also a little deeper. So that one probably would have been a good one to use. And I don't know, this is the one that I just tend to use, and it does pop. I wonder how my Caraway Dutch oven would work with this. I don't know. I've not used that. I don't know if it's quite deep enough for this. What do you guys use when you're making jam? Do you use a pot this size or something a little deeper? So Bashua just canned tomato sauce using the tomatoes from her garden, and she used a water bath canner also. What kind of water bath canner do you have? Warming the sugar is an interesting method. I would have thought the sugar would melt and become caramel when in contact with the heat. Well, first of all, oh, look at this. There's some puree on the wall where it was popping. So the sugar, I turned the oven on for at just 250, and you just let it sit in there for about 15 minutes, just enough for it to warm through. So not enough for it to like caramelize or do anything like that or to really melt. It's just enough for it to warm through. All right, so I'm going to turn that back up a little bit. Let's see, what else are people saying? So yeah, it's doing okay. Yes, I just started watching With Love Megan's second season. I've only gotten to the first one yet. I haven't been watching as much stuff as I normally do because, like I said, life's been lifing. So I've been tending to some other things, but I'm going to get to it tonight. A big enamel canner I got from Target over a decade ago. You know what? I've got one of those big enamel canners. I've got it in the other room, and that is what I used for years until I saved up enough to buy the Ball electric water bath canner. And the one thing about the electric water bath canner is that it is a multi-cooker. So in addition to using it for water bath canning, there's like a little ledge you can put in there, like a little I don't want to call it a shelf, but it's like a little lid-like thing that you can put in there, and you can put fruit on it, or not fruit, but like corn or asparagus. If you want to steam veggies, you can do that. You can use it to make chili and soups and all kinds of things, but I mostly just use it for water bath canning, but I have used it to make broth, like if I'm making vegetable broth or chicken broth or something like that. And then here's the other thing to think about too, with the spigot on the side. Now I don't use that when I'm making broth because I just use the spigot to let the water empty out. But if I'm making broth, then what I will do is I will make sure the spigot is closed, and then I just scoop it out and put it into the jars. And then I freeze my broth. I don't can it. I am just learning how to do pressure canning, and for broth you've got to pressure can it. Now there are some people who will do rebel canning, and they will say, oh, I pressure, I water bath can this and I water bath can that. But best practice is that you only water bath high acid foods like fruits like tomatoes, which you're going to add some lemon juice with it to give more acidic. Fruits like strawberries and apples and pears and things like that. You don't water bath corn and green beans or meat or anything like that. Those things have to be pressure canned because you want to make sure that you are following best practice and keeping your family safe. So now my jars are still preheating. They're on like number 3 of 5 little thingies. So let's see how this is looking. Oh, I think I'm still going to be stirring for about a while. Sometimes it takes about sometimes it takes about 20 to 30 minutes for it to come to a gel stage. And I'm not using any gel, like any pectin for this. I just wanted the sugar and the jam. I do have my saucer with a spoon on it in the freezer, so that when I'm ready to check to see if it's at the gel stage, I can. But you can see how it's just dripping right off. So it's not near at the gel stage yet. So like I said, I learned the hard way that if you cook it as long as you're supposed to sometimes, then as it becomes thicker and drier, then you get more likely to get the amount that they tell you you're supposed to get. And like I said, this is going to take a minute, so those of you that if you have to jump off, please jump off if you need to, but come back so that you see me when I actually start filling the jars, because this is just one part of the process, just one part of the process. And Bathsheba, you're going to get a good laugh out of this, but I was going to put on my makeup and, be all fancy. Then I thought, look, I am making jam. It's going to be hot over here. And I thought the last thing I need to worry about is whether or not I got on lipstick. So I thought, okay, skip that. I'm going to be all natural today. So let's see, what are you guys saying? Hey, Tamika, and Ursula is here. Good to have you with me. I am making, so I got a couple comments in here. So I've got a person with a different name that's saying hello. So hey, back at you. And then I asked you guys to tell me if you prefer seedless raspberry, strawberry jam, or if you don't mind the seeds and it's okay. So Bathsheba said seedless, and nobody else has jumped in on that yet. So let me know. Oh, so Ursula says seedless as well. So let me know if you prefer seedless jam or if you don't mind the seeds. Like strawberry jam, I don't mind the seeds. Raspberry jam, I don't mind the seeds. Blackberry jam, oh my goodness. Now, I think with the blackberries, I need to get some of those seeds out. I made a jam for my friend Mary's cookbook, and it was I can't remember the name of it now, but he had blackberries and some other kind of berry in it. And that was just so many berries in it that I could really taste the seeds. So the blackberry seeds also are a lot larger than the raspberry seeds. So if I'm going to do blackberry jam again, I'm going to put those raspberries through the food mill and at least take out like half of them. But what I learned is when you run those raspberries through the food processor, or rather through the food mill, then you end up with less. So it might take you 2 clamshells of, and that's what it did. It took me 2 clamshells of raspberries to get 1 cup of seedless raspberry pulp. So if you're going to do that, you're probably going to want to buy twice as many raspberries. And I guess that's one of the reasons why seedless jam is so expensive. And that is because you use twice as much fruit. If you've got the fruit in it, then it doesn't require quite as much. But when you have to remove you just want to get the seeds out and you're left with like pulp. So now, when I ran it through the food mill, I did put that in a little bowl and I put it in the refrigerator because I think I'm going to try to make some raspberry syrup with that. Because all you need to do to make raspberry syrup is add a little sugar and water, and there's enough raspberry flavor in there that you can make syrup. And then when you have cheesecake or chocolate cake or muffins or something like that, you can put the raspberry syrup over it. Now you can see it's getting thicker. Can you kind of see how it's getting thicker, the way it's sheeting off the spoon? So I'm getting there. Let me set this timer. I want to know. I'm going to give it 10 minutes. And see how I'm doing that wise. See, like, because I think how long have we been on? We've been on about, I bet you I've probably been stirring this at least 10 minutes, maybe even 15. So now that it's at a boil, and it's at a boil that I can't stir down, I want to see how long it's going to take me to get to the sheeting stage or the gelling stage. And when I say the gelling stage, that means that it's thick enough that it'll set in the jar. And then to crush the berries, I just use an old-fashioned potato masher, one that I've had at least 30 years. I was talking with a friend the other day, And I was talking to her about applesauce and that you mash the apples with potato masher. And she said, Miss Denise, I don't have a potato masher. And I was like, my mouth really dropped open. I'm like, how can a person not have a potato masher? But I realized that in today's homemakers, today's young people, they may not have a potato masher. They may make their mashed potatoes in their mixer with their KitchenAid stand mixer or a hand mixer, or they may buy the boxed potato flakes. So one of the things that I'm trying to do, me and Miss Leona are trying to do, is teach the young homemakers, the young home cooks, how to make foods the old-fashioned way. How to make mashed potatoes with a potato masher. You just, boil potatoes, mash them up with your own butter and salt, pepper, sour cream, or whatever you want to add to them in there. How to make your own bread. How to make some meals at home. So listen, we did a show Wednesday night, and I have to tell you, it was so much fun. Bashua, I believe you were there, so let the people know we had a ball. Now, I had a time putting all this stuff away that I had pulled out, but it was so much fun. And what we were doing was showing people like how you can just kind of put some meals together and not really have to have a recipe. Now, some things when you first get started, you may need a recipe for. Like meatloaf, the first time you try to make it, you may need a recipe for that. And I'm looking to see how the sheeting action is, and it's still drip, drip, dripping. So it's not at the gelling stage yet. But I can feel that as I stir it with the spoon, I can feel that it's getting a little bit more difficult to stir. So Jean uses a hand potato masher. So see, Pollard's cleaning out her drawer. She doesn't have a potato masher, but she does have a lot of silicone spatulas. So now Bashua said she's got a potato masher and a potato ricer. So now Bashua, tell me about this potato ricer. I don't think I've heard of that. I'm going to give you guys a good look real quick. You just kind of see. It's not sheeting off the spoon just yet, but it's getting close. So I hope all this moving the phone around isn't making you seasick, but I don't know any other way to do it. And and see, this way, once I'm done, I can just, just push the button and it's uploaded on YouTube. Ooh, that was hot. Got that on my finger. But it's getting, I can definitely tell it's getting thicker though. I've been stirring this about 5 minutes since we set the timer. And it's starting to pop. I'm going to see if I can find a little bit deeper pan that I have than this. Now, hubby went to the food market the other day, and I got a video coming out at 2:15 or 2:45, and I mentioned that, nope, that video's next week, but he picked up some apples, and I didn't have apples on, I told him to pick up some apples, but he came back with all kinds of stuff. But I've got apples, and I want to make some cinnamon apples. Like, I love to have cinnamon apples on pancakes. I like to have, kind of like those Cracker Barrel apples that you get as a side dish. I like to have those as a side dish, particularly if I'm making pork chops or something like that. I think I'm close. And then I made some muscadine jelly the other day, and I don't know what I did, but it didn't set very well. It's more like muscadine syrup than muscadine jelly, but we are going to use it. It's great on pancakes and certainly on biscuits. Like if you put honey on biscuits, it's about that consistency. So you can just pour a little bit of it on biscuits. How many of you have made muscadine jelly? What I learned from Miss Leona, because I asked her about it, because she had made some not too long ago, is that she uses the whole grape. So she puts it in the food processor, and then processes it and purees it so that the grape is in there, the grape skin is in there as well. I put in the food processor, not in the food processor, but I put it in a strainer, in a food mill, and strain the skin out, not realizing, since I never had those grapes before, that has a lot of the pectin in it. And so that's what a lot of people will do, is they will put it in the food processor and then puree it and then use the whole thing, and then you don't have a problem with it setting. Another 3.5 minutes, and that will be the 10 minutes since we started. And then I've got up to 5 on my canner for the preheating of the jars. So which means that when this is ready and that's ready, I'm going to have to move you guys over to the counter. So we'll get a little C-stick again as I move that around. But this is really, I can really feel it starting to thicken up. And I think I like the way it feels. Let me just try my okay. Now I got this on the spoon, and it looks like it's maybe not quite sheeting off the spoon. I put a drop here, and then I got some on the spoon. And I like to see like how it's still kind of coming off the spoon kind of quick, but we'll see. I'm gonna let it sit for 30 seconds. And while it's sitting for 30 seconds, I'm gonna keep stirring. But I can feel that it's definitely thicker. So I'm gonna let that sit for 30 seconds, and then we'll run our finger through it and we'll see how it does. This leaves me 2 minutes on our tin. And what I don't want to do is get it so, I'm gonna just set it off for a second, because I don't want it to get so thick. Okay, so it's set for 30 seconds, so let's taste it. Tastes good. Okay, so here we go. I think we're good. I think we're good. That part right there was closing in just a little bit, but I'm cool with that. All right, so I've got this off the heat, and I'm gonna leave it off the heat. I don't have hardly anything to, any foam or anything like that, but maybe another minute, because it looks pretty good on there, but maybe one more minute. I'm gonna give it a good stir. One more minute. When that beats, I'm gonna stop. And I do like a soft spread. I like a soft jam. I like to be able to just spoon it on and just smooth it out with the back of a spoon or with a butter knife. Another 20 seconds, and then we're going to be getting this in a jar, and then that's just about ready, because it's on number 5 for the preheating jar cycle. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Because what I don't want to have happen is that I have it so stiff that then we can't use it. And let's check it again. It's been sitting for a little longer, and so yeah. Okay, now let me move you guys over here. Let me get some stuff out of the way. And let me just So it should be just about done with the preheating. I tell you what, I have got these little gnats in my house. They are driving me crazy. It could be, well, you know, like I said, my husband did bring home that big thing of apples, you know, bushel of apples the other day. So it could be that. No telling what it is, but I tell you what, though, it has just been driving me nuts. One just flew by. Here are my lids, so I will set them over there. And I'm trying to get everything set up so that it's close enough that you can see. Get out my little Caraway cork heating hot pad. So I'm going to put that there. And I'll set this right there on top of that. Oh yeah. Okay, so there's that. Get this right here. And well, I'm waiting on that to finish. It hasn't finished yet, so while I'm waiting on that, I'll just show you guys. So this is my old-fashioned potato masher. I've had this thing, I don't know how many years. I do have another one. I've got the one that's got the little, like they're like little curly Q rungs on it. I've had it for I don't know how long, and I don't even know when I got this or where I got it from. But this is the old-fashioned potato masher, and you just go like that, and it mashes things up nicely. What I did want to show you was I got some very nice Happy Mail. This is my friend Mary's new cookbook. It is called The Modern Pioneer Pantry, a complete guide to preserving food. So not only does she teach us in here how to do water bath canning, she also teaches us how to do pressure canning. So I'll be using this book to learn how to do that. And this is the second cookbook that Mary's put out. The first one was amazing, so I think you'll like this one as well. Over 115 recipes for canning, drying, dehydrating, freezing, fermenting, and pickling food. I'm going to try to do some pickling. I want to do some relish or something like that. And she calls hers the preheat jars is done. So now I can fill the jars. But she calls it the Modern Pioneer Pantry because she tries to show us how to do things that the pioneers used to do. And so in this modern age, she calls us the modern pioneers. My Bible typically is this, my Ball Blue Book, and it's the Ball Blue Book, 38th edition, Guide to Preserving, and there's 40 recipes in here. I had one that I've been using for years, and they updated it, so now this is the updated version. You can see I got little notes and things in it where I've been using it. And then the other thing is that I do have a food scale that I've been using. So like if it says 2.5 pounds of berries, then I can just kind of set this. Come on. And then it'll go to 0. And I can measure it here according to ounces, grams, pounds, that kind of thing. And so since I needed like so many pounds of raspberries, that was how I figured that out. And Miss Leona has been teaching us how to do sourdough. And it's best to be more precise, to be more accurate with sourdough if you can actually measure it in grams, because you get a better product as a result of that. So I wanted to show you guys that. So, okay. So now, let me just turn you this way a little bit. So, and I'll move down here so you can see what I'm doing. So, I'm going to take the lid off, and remember, when you take the lid off, you take it off facing away from you. You see all that steam that popped up? You want that steam to be away from you, otherwise you get a face full of steam. And then I can just reach over here and grab my little tools, the things that I need. So I'm going to take a jar out. Going to pour the water back into the pot, and I'm going to set it out. And best practice is that you fill one jar at a time. Now, I'm going to tell you, it's a little annoying to just do one at a time because I didn't always do it that way. However, I realized that if I'm going to be teaching people how to do this, then I need to be following best practice. So I like to take a saucer and hold it beneath there, and then I can just fill my jar. And you fill jam jars to a 1/4 inch headspace, and this little funnel right here allows me to see if I'm there. And then I will grab my jar, my lid lifter, I feel like I'm fishing. Come on out of there. And I get my lid lifter out. Oh wait, I almost forgot. When I'm talking and not paying attention, I almost forget things. So here's my vinegar. And here are my paper towels. And so the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of run the debubbler around the inside of the jar just to make sure that there's no bubbles in there. I'm going to set that on that little saucer that I have out. Then I'm going to dip my paper towel in vinegar now, and the jar is hot, hot, hot. So now you can use water. Ooh, that is hot, hot, hot. But I started using vinegar. It just seems to work better for me. And then you put your lid on. Make sure you center the lid on the top of the jar. And then you're going to screw your band on just finger tight. Just finger tight. You're not going to crank it on. Just screw it on finger tight. And then you're going to take your jar lifter. Now that's reminding me that I can fill my jars. So that's what I'm doing now. And then you're going to squeeze that jar tight and set it in. I'm going to use my forceps. Take out another jar. Now, why is best practice to just fill one jar at a time? Let me just get out. I don't like to have that sit on the counter, so I always set it on that. Now this scoop is about 8 ounces. So if I have it all the way filled up, then I may be able to have just enough So again, we're going to zhuzh around. Just to make sure. I'm going to set it on that. And now I'm going to wipe around my jar rim, the ridges, as well, the ridges or the threads as well as the rim. And while I'm doing that, you know, when I washed my jars, I checked them to see if there was any nicks or anything like that in the jar, any cracks in the jars were fine. Center that on. Put your lid on. Keep that in the center. Finger tight. And then I'm going to lift this straight up and put it in the jar. And then we're going to repeat this until they're all full. And you can see the seeds in there. Just use your round to get any air out. This is called the debubbler. And the nice thing about this particular one, I've got like some little measurements on there that I can check to see if I'm at the appropriate head space. Now this also has some measurements on there that allows me to do that. So I've not had to do that. Ooh, 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 hot, hot, hot. So what's your favorite jam to make? You guys out there tell me. Like I said, I have watched Meghan Markle or Meghan the Duchess of Sussex make raspberry jam, and I thought, I am making that. And this is the second time I've made raspberry jam. And Kroger's had such a good deal on raspberries, and I thought, okay, I'll make some more. And they've got strawberries in now too. And you know, it's not really strawberry season, but they got strawberries and the prices were pretty good with your digital card. Okay, that's finger tight. Make sure you got a good grip on it. And this is jar number 3 that's going in. So Mark, if you're still on there, let me know, do you, or I'm not sure how old you are. So if you're a young person, did you watch your mom or grandma make jam? Let me know in the comments. And then for you ladies that are out there, that, you know, you homemakers that are out there, that I know you're managing families now, tell me, do you like to make jam, or would you like to learn how? Like I said, I've got a course now, and I'm so excited about that. That I actually have my first digital course to show you how to make jam and jelly, and you can can tomatoes and different things like that. Keep this, it seems extra hot today. Oh, I didn't use around it. I better do that. Sometimes I get to talking and I lose track of what I'm supposed to be doing. There. So now I used around it. And then I rotate the paper towel around, so I'm not getting the same piece on there every time. Look at that. I'm going to put that back in the hot water and let it sit there. Now, these lids don't have to be sterile. Why not? Well, the lids don't have to be sterile because of the processing time. That's why the jars don't have to be sterile. That's the same one that I had, and it still has jam on it where it shouldn't be. I rinsed it off. There we go. So now let me get a different one. I'm gonna let it just sit in that hot, warm water for a minute. And it's just warm water, not hot. Okay. There we go. You know what? I probably should wipe the top again, just because when I got that in the jam, I might have got some on the rim. And having jam or product on the rim can interfere with sealing, and we don't want that. After I go through all this trouble. Now, why do we want it just finger tight? Well, because the air needs to be able to escape to form a vacuum. Squeeze it tight. Look at there. I'm getting jam on there from being on the, there we go. Got 4 in. It's supposed to make 8. So we'll see what it does. Well, when I look at the jam that's on this plate, you know, it looks like it's set pretty good. I'm glad I took it off when I did. If I had to let it cook much longer, it might have been, ooh, got that on my thumb, and it was hot, hot, hot. So now I got too much in the jar. Well, that's a good teaching example for you. If you get too much in the jar, you just take a spoon and take some out. There we go. Okay. Let's use around. I am determined to burn my fingers with jam today. You know what? There we go. Let's just take a little bit more out. I'm not usually this messy. However, because I'm trying to show you it live, I'm making all kind of errors that I normally don't make. Just shows you it is sometimes hard to walk and chew gum at the same time. All right. I got the lid on. It's centered over the jar. That one jar, for some reason, seems to feel a little sticky, so I'm going to have to definitely soak this towel when I'm done. I'll show you what I do for that. So, okay, now this one is going to go in. There's 5. Let's cover that up. Now, the nice thing about this, though, is I might get a little bit of product on the edge. The part that actually covers the jar is inside. That part does not rest on the counter. And that's one of the reasons why I like this funnel. All right, I think this is number 6. There we go. Got a tad too much again. Okay, there. I feel like I'm trying to get one of my husband's minnows right on the center. Finger tight. Notice I didn't crank it, just as tight as I could get it with my fingers. There's 6. And I got some jam on this, and I did not want to have jam on this because I didn't want to be putting, there we go. So now this water is hot, hot, hot. So there's that. And let me just set this over here where it belongs so that I don't end up getting I might have to pour me some more vinegar. I thought I had poured enough. I usually end up with vinegar that I'm pouring out. So if you guys are talking, hopefully you're talking to each other because I can't see what you're doing right now. I need to pay attention because when I don't pay attention, like now, I forget to do something like zhuzh around the jar. So now I got that done. So I got to wipe it again. And whereas I like to use vinegar, you can just use plain water. Plain water is fine. You just need to wipe it down. And then after I've let them sit for 12 to 24 hours on the counter, I will wipe down the sides of the jar with vinegar. Just in case any little sticky got on there. All right. That's 7. It said it would make 8. So here's number 8 right here. And I think we're going to have a little left over. And this is why you sometimes get sticky on the sides of the jars. Because I definitely have enough in here to fill maybe another one. We'll see. Oh, and look, let me show you something. So here's my pot, and there's like a little hook. I can just like sit that hook right there on the side. So as you can see, I try to have everything that I'm going to need close by. I might have to get some more vinegar though. I've only got probably enough for 1 or 1.5 more. This might be enough. We'll see if I don't make a mess. Oh, see, I was talking. Almost forgot to zhuzh it around. Running this around the side of the jar just to make sure we get any air bubbles out. And then you wipe the sides of your jar, the threads on the jar, as well as the rim. We don't want any residual product on the rim because it can interfere with sealing. And if you're just joining me, remember, the lids don't have to be sterile. They just need to be clean because when you process them for 10 minutes or longer, it'll get hot enough in the jars to sterilize, to make sure that the jars are fine and that the lids are fine. Now you're going to preheat your jars so that your jars are hot, because you're putting hot product in the hot jars. Well, there's 8. And I still got, well, I'll tell you what I did do. I did put these 2 little ones in here, thinking there might be enough for 1 little one, but we'll see. Okay, this is just needs a half. Might be enough for another little one. And when I say little one, we're looking at a quarter pint, sorry. So we're going to zhuzh around it. And again, we've got a 1/4 inch headspace. Yeah, that's a 1/4 inch. It's not near as hot now since we're at the bottom and there's not much left in the pot. When we first got it out, it was really hot. Okay. Okay, so we got one of these little ones, these 1/4 pints. I got 1 more 1/4 pint in here. So the bigger jelly jars are 1/2 pints. These little ones are 1/4 pints, and they make nice gifts. So I will, usually if I'm giving some away, I will give away, oh, well, that filled that one up. I will give away, depends on who I'm giving it to or how much I'm giving them. So, for example, if I'm giving it away to, say, a family member or someone, and I know they appreciate it, and I'll get my jars back, because when you give these away as gifts, you want to tell people, now, give me the jars back, and I'll refill them, because these jars are expensive. Oh, wait, I don't think I used around it. See, when I get to talking, then I'm not focused. All right. Now, well, that's about a 1/4 inch, so I'm good there. And this canner will hold 10 1/2 pints or 8 1/2 pints and 2 1/4 pints. All right. Let me get this in. And I need to have at least the water came up to about there, which gives me an inch is here, so up to here is at least 2 inches. So I definitely have enough water in there. So I'm just going to make sure these are situated like I want them. And I'll bring you over. Let me just bring you over so you can kind of see. And let's see, there you go. There are the jars in there. So now let me put you back over here. now I'm going to put the lid on. I stepped on something. Oh, slip probably came out of the bag. And so now I'm going to turn it to process because I filled the jars. And so now I have to set the timer. These are processed for 10 minutes. And then it's on set for 10, and then next. So now it's going to process for 10 minutes. But now what this canner is going to do, I've had the lid off for a while, letting it heat out and letting water cool off. So it is going to preheat again to come to the correct temperature. But while it's doing that, there's a little bit of jam left in this pot. Let me grab another little jar. Hang on. And I'll just put this in the fridge and we'll just have that right away. So I didn't anticipate needing more than another jar. So, and this is going to go in the fridge. So I'm going to put that lid there. And I will set that aside for use later at another time. And I guess it's good that I got I had my soapy water over there. It's cooled down a little bit, but all right, let's see how much of this is left in here. Maybe a half a jar, you know, half a jar like that. We'll see. And I'll just scrape the pot, get as much out. When you were kids and your mom baked a cake or made jam or jelly, did you guys like licking the bowl or get a spoon and or get to lick the beaters or that kind of thing? Well, look how that's sheeting off of there. Now it's pretty cool, but this kind of gives you an idea of what it might be like once it's processed and it's all done. But when they talk about sheeting, you see how that's coming off in a thick little sheet. That's probably a little thicker than what you need. Good. All right. So now I'm going to save all of this. We'll put it in here. This is good. All right. So now as you saw me licking it up, it tastes pretty darn good. So I'm just going to put a lid on this one and put it in the refrigerator, and we'll use it right away. That over there, because I'll be needing that again. I'll put the warm water in here, add some more soap. Let me grab a little piece of bread real quick and we'll put some on that. Well, must have made sandwiches today. So there's now a piece of bread in that pantry, and there was bread when I went to bed. So he must have made sandwiches to take on his fishing trip today. So we'll just put a little jam on this cracker. It's good. And I'll just put a lid on it like this. I got jam all over the side of it. Don't usually put jam on crackers, so it had kind of an odd taste to have the saltiness of the cracker. But the jam tastes pretty good. So I got all those in the sink. Got that in the sink. And then you always want to label things, even if you think you're going to remember later. Like, I did a video which 15,000 people have seen. It's a little short. And they always ask, what are you canning? Well, I did that video a couple of years ago, and I don't remember. As I look at it, it looks like it's either tomatoes or strawberry jam. Now, my best guess is that it's strawberry jam because I would not normally can tomatoes in a jelly jar. So I figure it must be strawberry jam. But I'm not sure. So now I'm going to do a video and I'm going to put that I'm making jam. I'm going to say on the video what it is and put it in the description box so that 2 years later and people ask, I don't know. So, labeled on here what it is. Hey, let me show you something else I got. Hang on a second. I made some autumn jam the other day. Now, this autumn jam is absolutely delicious. And it's made with pears, apples, and plums. You know, the fruit that comes in season in the autumn. That's why it's called autumn jam. And it is really good. Now let me show you what it looks like. And I don't think I made a video of it. See how it looks there? It's really good. Pears, apples, plums. And then you put cinnamon and I think nutmeg, no, cinnamon and ginger in it. Whereas with this jam, it's just sugar and raspberries, so there's no, nothing else in that. And again, you can kind of see how it is in there, and it's moving in the jar. You can kind of see how it's moving in the jar. So, oh, now these lids, these are the ball lids, these gray ones. But I've been using them quite a bit, so I'm kind of out of them. But I like to put these on my jars. You're not supposed to store your jam or jellies in the boxes or on your shelves with the bands on them because the bands can give you a sense of a false seal. And remember, you only use the lids once. They're single-use lids when you're canning. However, I can, let's say I'm trying to vacuum seal a jar, like one of my anchor hocking jars or something like that. I can put this lid on here and I can put this on top and I could use it for that. And because it's already written on, I know it's not a good lid. I keep my new lids in a box in here or in a box in my other pantry so I don't mix them up. But, so here's our two jams. The raspberry jam that we made today, the autumn jam that I made the other day. I showed you what I do with it. Now this one is still preheating for processing because I let a lot of the air out, or a lot of the heat out, so it's got to heat up again. So when I told you guys we were going to be in for a minute, or rather be on for a minute, I meant that. Because I brought you guys along for the whole process. So I showed you my new cookbook. I showed you, well, let's make sure I did. In case you're just joining me, let me show you again. So this is the cookbook that I use today. It is my book that is called The Complete Book of Small Batch Preserving. I got a little bit of jam on there, so now let me wipe that off. The Complete Book of Small Batch Preserving. It's got a lot of nice recipes in here. This is my Bible right here, and it is the Ball Blue Book, Guide to Home Preserving, and it's got lots of recipes in here, and it is one that I recommend all novice canners to purchase. This is going to be your resource tool that you're going to want to have always, and if you've got a young homemaker and she's getting started in canning, this is something that you'll want to get for her. And this is the 38th edition. This is the most recent edition, so there's that. And then there's also a new sheriff in town. I just got this one from my friend Mary at Mary's Nest. Actually, it came from the publisher, and you can get it at Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, some other stores, or you can get it, I think, from her website. And this is her, The Modern Pioneer's Pantry, a complete guide to preserving food. Now let me just make sure. Let me just move these out of the way so that I don't end up with jam or jelly or something on them, because you guys know how I can do. I can make a mess in a minute, as we have seen today. So I'm going to put this potato masher back here. And it's on the third one for preheating for canning, so for processing. So let me just show you next what I would do. So now I got all of these paper towels in the sink from where I was cleaning the jars, and then as I got them wet enough, I just threw them in the sink. So now I'm going to throw these in the trash. And then the next thing I want to do is get the stains off of my, I'll get the jam and jelly off the counter, because I got that all over the counter. So I'll wipe that up. I also need to wipe the wall behind the stove, because there's like jam on the stove and on the back of the stove where it popped off or popped out. And if you guys need to leave, this is going to take probably 15 minutes because it hasn't come to processing yet. It's probably going to take another 5 minutes for the jars to heat up to where, for the canner to heat up to where it needs to be for processing. And then it'll start. So you can always jump off and jump back on, but if you want to see the whole process, so now I want to get this towel. I got all this jam on it, so I'm going to get it wet. So what I'll do is I'll run cold water through it from the back and force the jam through there. So let me see if I can bring you guys around to see that. I mean, it's not anything fancy or special, but it's how I get some of my jelly out. So now let me just chat with people to see who's been on here, see, because I've got time to do that now. So C. Pollard's cleaning her kitchen drawer, doesn't have a potato masher, but she's got too many silicone spatulas. Bashua, now Bashua, you gotta tell me about that ricer. Gotta tell me about that ricer. I don't know about that. Oh, they make awesome, super smooth mashed potatoes. Okay. Bashua said, yes, we did have a good time on Wednesday. We had a great time on Wednesday. If you guys have not been there, please catch the replay. And J. Royal says, best purchase for mashed potatoes, I guess, is the potato masher. Yes. And she says the potato ricer looks like a giant garlic press, but it's for potatoes and it makes a smoother mash. Okay. Ursula loves her ricer. She's got one. Well, I'm missing out. I have to get one. Okay. So Ursula has to hop off. She's got to go meet the author. The book is My Dear Antonio, a love story. Oh, I love love stories. She'll let you guys know if she recommends it. Hey, you know what, Ursula, if you have time, jump back on to see later on to see when it comes out, see what they look like. Hazel stopped by just to say hello. Thank you. She'll catch the replay so she can see the end. Shanika's here. Hey, Shanika, good to have you. Do I have any videos that show the process using a large pot and tools and utensils most already have on hand? I do. When I made the taco sauce, I used a regular large pot. Now, the process is starting, so now it's going to take 10 minutes. Let me just grab my regular water bath canner real quick, and I'll show it to you. I do have that. But here is the thing. The processing is the same. The steps are the same. Now, when you use, let's say, this is like a standard big pot water bath canner that a lot of people will have. And, you know, it's just a large pot. So is it multi-purpose? Yeah, because you can make broth and soup and all kind of stuff like that in it as well. You've got your lid with a vent. You've got that. You've got your rack on the inside that holds your jars. And then you can see how deep the pot is. And the only difference in using the electric one is you're just not using that electricity. You're gonna put those in there like so. You'll put your jars in. You put your jars in. You fill it with water. And you're going to fill it with water sitting on the stove, not on the counter. And let me just show that. And I tell you why. I used to be a nursing instructor, and I always make sure to show people how to do things the right way. Because, you can say, well, do it this way, but, in the right place or the right order. Well, once, this was, I left that cabinet open again. Here, let me close it again. I just can't stand to have that open. I can't remember what I came over there for, but, so this is what you do. Process is going to be exactly the same, So you've got your jars. You're going to put your jar, there, let's turn it around. So you're going to bring it over to the stove. Now, because these pots don't have a spigot, you're going to have to lift a heavy pot full of water. So what you're going to want to do is put your jars in, half fill it with water, bring it over to the stove, and set it down. So then you bring it over to the stove and set it down. And then you're going to need to take a small pot, such as this, and finish filling it with water, because you need to have the water 1 to 2 inches above the level of your jars. And then once you've done that, you're going to put the lid on, you're going to turn it on, and you're going to bring it to a boil. And it's a full rolling boil, one that you can't stir down. Once it's at a full rolling boil, then you're going to start your timing for your processing. And I use my microwave, so I set it, if it needs to process for 10 minutes, so then I set it for 10 minutes, start, and then I'll let it do its thing for 10 minutes, keeping in mind that you do not start the timer until it's at a full rolling boil. What is a full rolling boil? It's a boil that you cannot stir down. Once it's at that point, then you start your timer. And for those of you that are just joining us, in case you're interested, I do have a a course called Yes You Can, A Beginner's Guide to Water Bath Canning that you can sign up for. The link is in the description box below. And I'm really proud of it. And the people that have taken it or that have looked at it feel like it is just what they needed. And then Miss Leona even went through it and she said she wished she had seen that when she was a new canner. So do check it out. It's in the description box below. But yeah, so now I don't know if y'all can see this jam on the back of this stove. So let's clean that off. I've got it back here on the wall. It just popped right out of there. You know, I was watching someone this morning. I was laying in the bed, just kind of, you know, getting the day started. And there's jam up here on the thing here. So I'm going to see if I can find a bigger pot because I always have jam that pops out and then I have to do all this cleanup later as well as clean up the stove. Now I'm going to get these clean jars and put them where they go because I just got them out to show you that. Sorry, I'm a noisy Rosie. And I'm going to wipe this off the stove too. I like to try to do that too as soon as I can. Because I don't want like me or the hubby to come in and then try to cook something and then you've got all that jam on top of there and then it cooks on and now I've really got a mess to try to clean up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just kind of lay a wet cloth here, get that wet. I'm going to sprinkle a little dishwashing liquid over it and just kind of let that soak a little bit. Let me get that off. Let that soak a little bit. And while that's doing that, I have to get ready to clean my dish towel. So that's what I was bringing you guys over here for. And then I got distracted. So, C. Pollard says she likes raspberry, strawberry, and orange marmalade. I've not made orange marmalade, but I love it. So Jean says she never made jam before. She said ham, but I think she meant jam. And she bought blueberry jam from a farmer's market and loved it. Bathshua likes peach, mango, and ginger preserve. Oh, that sounds good. And 7 says, I'm 44 years old and remember making my mom make jam. What kind of canner are you using? Thank you. This canner here is the Ball Easy Canner. And it's an electric water bath canner. And I opted for that because I didn't want it to take up space on my cooktop. But let me show you this one. This is just a plain old-fashioned stainless steel water bath canner. And it sits on your cooktop. And it is likened to that black and gray kind of speckled enamel water bath canner you might have seen your grandma use. I've got one of those too. These work the same way. This one's just a little bit sleeker design. It looks more modern, but it works absolutely the same way as those old-fashioned speckled ones that grandma used to have. So there's that. So now I need to, you can see this is the back, and you can see where it is from the front. So I'm going to turn on cold water and run the cold water from the back so that it forces the stain out. Run the cold water from the back. And there's one thing I forgot to do. And probably the biggest thing you want to do is, first of all, is you're going to scrape off the large pieces. So I'm going to scrape off where the jam and the jelly and the seeds are. So I'm going to scrape those off. So I'm going to scrape that off. And that's important that you scrape any pieces off first. if it's chocolate, if it's peanut butter, whatever. You want to scrape it off first. So I've scraped it all off. So now I'm going to run cold water over it, but I'm going to do it from the back. So you run it from the back. It kind of helps to force the stain out. I left a little bit there, but okay, so run it from the back. And this is one of my old kitchen towels, and I try to use my old ones for this kind of stuff, because most of the time I can get all the stain out, but then sometimes I just don't feel like working with it, and I just wash it and let it go. Okay. And this is just part of my process. So while we've been talking, it has processed for the 10 minutes, and so now it's at the let stand point, which means that I take the lid off, and just let it stand. Just let it stand. So, okay, so now we're back to this. So now what I'll do is I'll take my dishwashing liquid and I'll put it right on top of the stain. I'll go to all the different little places and just spray it all over the towel. So there's a bunch of little spots on there. So now I've sprayed the dishwashing liquid all over it. So now I'm just going to let it sit in a little ball like this. And I'll let it sit in a bowl. Now, if the sink was clear, I'd just let it sit in the sink. But since I'm busy at the sink, I'll just let it sit in a bowl. And I'll just let it sit like this for maybe 30, 45 minutes. And then I'll come back through and I'll give it a good scrub by hand under cold water to try to get it all out. If it's not out, now squirt it again and let it sit a little bit longer. But that usually does the trick. So now I got all of this stuff to wash up, and I'm letting this stand for 5 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get ready for when I get them out of the canner. So what I like to do for that is I'll take one of my cutting boards, and this is a fancy one. I got it from Sean Cannell and Think Media. It says Homemaking with Denise. I was on his show one day. If you guys missed it, I don't know, I'll try to remember to link it in the description box below, but they sent me this for being a guest. So I don't use it. I just use it for show. So I will turn it over upside down like this. So now let me bring you around so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And then I'll try to answer some more things, but I'll set it there like that. And then also what I'll do is I'll get, let me bring you down a little bit more. You guys, if you guys been on from the beginning, you guys are probably seasick. And I should bring you over close enough that, let's see, that you can see the canner too. Okay. Okay. So here's my cutting board, and I like to use a cutting board because I can like move it aside if I need to, and I'll put a towel over it so it's upside down so that I can't mess up the front. It has Homemaking with Denise on it. And then I got another minute and 42 seconds so before I can get those out. And what you do is you let it stand so that some of the heat can dissipate, and it also reduces the amount of chance of you burning yourself, that kind of thing. See you can kind of see the steam going up, that kind of thing. Now that's the microwave. What did I set that for? I don't remember. Oh, I was showing you why when I'm using this cooktop for my the stovetop canner, how I'll set the microwave for it to go. So remember, ladies and gents, the process is the same. It's just a different tool. With this tool, I plug it in. When the water gets to a point of heating, I set it for 10 minutes. It goes for 10 minutes. When my timer bings that the 10 minutes is up, I take the lid off. I let it stand for 5 minutes, and then I take them out. If I'm using this one, the process is very similar. I set it on my stove top. I bring it to a full rolling boil. And then when it comes to a boil, a full rolling boil, a boil that can't be stirred down, I set my timer for 10 minutes. When the timer goes off, excuse me, when the timer goes off, I'll take the heat off, I'll turn the heat off, I take the lid off, and I let it sit for 5 minutes, meaning I let it stand for 5 minutes. Once it's stood for 5 minutes, I get them out of the jar, and I do what I'm getting ready to do now. So this is said end time. So now that my time has come that I can get them out. I can't believe some of you guys have stayed with me the whole time. And then you bring them up straight out. And you do not tip them to let the water on the top come off. That water will evaporate. Don't worry about it. Just bring them straight out. And let them sit there. And you're going to let them sit for 12 to 24 hours. And again, straight out. That's reminding me that the time is up and I can turn it off. I wanted to make sure I knew where the end of that cutting board was so that I didn't set them on the end and end up knocking them over or letting it fall over. Now, when you're watching people can, you'll see some people tip that jar to the side. Do not do that. Oh, you just heard that one pop. Best practice is that you just bring them straight up. You do not tip it. You don't do anything like that. That's possible. It could interfere with your sealing. And you may hear them pop as they go. Huh? Did you hear that one pop? Another one. Hey, that was a loud one. Ooh. Ooh, hot, hot, hot. Okay. So now that they're done, I'm going to let them sit undisturbed for the next 12 to 24 hours. As you guys can see, I got 8 beautiful half-pint jars and 2 beautiful quarter-pint jars. So I'll probably use those quarter-pint jars as gifts. Could use some of the big ones as well. And then I'll let these sit for the next 12 to 24 hours. Now, will they sit here in this spot? All right, I hear you. Okay. It's off. Now, I'll let them sit for the next 12 to 24 hours. Now, maybe not in this exact spot. And the reason why I like putting them on the cutting boards is because then I can just move this over here. And just put them right there. I don't know if you can see. There you go. I just put them right there. And they're not in the way. And so they can just be there for the next 12 to 24 hours. So I'll take a look at those tomorrow. Oh, and then let me show you something else. I'm going to have to give you seasickness again. Sorry. But, so you see the spigot here. Let's see. Sorry. Okay. this up. And so here's the canner. Where is the canner? There we go. Okay. So now you can see the canner here, and you can see the spigot here. So I still need some hot water to do my dishes with. So what I'm going to do, I can just kind of get some of the water out of here. Because that soapy water that I put over there has cooled off a little bit. So I can use some of this water, because it is piping hot. And then in the meantime, I can just turn this on and let the water drain out, so that when I'm ready to rinse or wash this pot, I can just lift it up and it's not full of hot water. But I'm gonna save it for a minute until I'm done washing the dishes, just to make sure I can use that hot water for something else. So we've been on for a minute, but it has been so much fun. So C. Pollard says, so I showed the canner that I was using. C. Pollard said she has a case of those same jars that she used to use for drinking glasses for an event. She should have put them to use for jams and jellies. Yes, 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 yes. And Max says it looks great. It is good. And then Bathsheba says I'm doing great. Jean's got to go. Thank you. We've been on for over an hour, so I don't blame you. And yes, I have all the tools that I need to go smoothly. And you know what, Nyla? I'm praying for the children in Gaza. I'm praying for the children in the United States. I am praying for the children everywhere. We are in such turmoil, not just in Gaza, not just here, but everywhere. There's something going on that our children, our people are in peril. So I am praying for not just the children in Gaza, but children everywhere else as well. And so thank you guys for joining me. Hey, Leona, yes, I'm working it. I just decided, I said, you know what? I got to make this jam. I probably shouldn't be up because my husband is not here. He doesn't know that I'm doing this. I should probably still have my little behind in the bed. But I didn't want those raspberries to go bad. So I thought, let me get up and get that done. So I thought, well, let me just do this. And I thought, might as well have some company while I was at it. So yes, and I was telling people how we had such a good time Wednesday on our live stream. And if they missed it, they need to catch the replay because it was fun. What is my dish soap of choice? I have two kinds. I like Dawn dish soap, and then I like, is it Watkins? Here, I'll show you. I like Dawn dish soap. And where is it? It was right here. But right now, oh, here it is. And then I also have some Watkins. So I have, here's my Dawn dish soap. And what I will do is I will put some Dawn in a little squeeze bottle on the counter and add a little bit of water to it, so I can just, like my husband and I too, we like to just kind of squirt the dish soap on the dish and, that kind of thing. So I will use that, but I will put some of this in water, or I also like this Watkins soap. They're both just amazing. So I like to use those. Those are my of choice. And we need some biscuits for the taste test. I don't have any biscuits. And girl, we didn't even have any bread. I looked in the fridge. I was going to get some bread out, put some toast on. My husband must have made sandwiches when he went fishing today, because there's no bread in the in the cabinet. And hey, Duncan, party of 6. And yes, we did have a good time the other night. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been so much fun, for joining me, I should say, and for chatting and joining in the chat. It's always nice when the people get to talking to one another. I appreciate it. So I'm going to get these dishes washed up, and I'll see you guys next time. Oh, I got a video coming out at 2:45. I'm making applesauce. And again, don't forget, if you are new to water bath canning, or you want to learn how to do water bath canning, my course, the link to my course, Yes You Can, A Beginner's Guide to Water Bath Canning, is in the description box. And I will see you next time. Bye.